Yoga's history stretches back over centuries. 3,000-year-old representations of what appear to be meditating yogis have been uncovered. Written accounts of yoga appear in Hindu spiritual texts recorded approximately 1400 years before the birth of Christ. And through the ages, yoga practitioners have been dedicating their lives to attaining yoga's ultimate goal.
The purpose of yoga is the development of self-awareness to the point of liberation.
But that's for the hippies. Yoga is a certified, bona fide, worldwide phenomenon. There are booming yoga scenes in Asia, South America, across Europe, and even the Middle East. But the ancient yogis might have a hard time recognizing today's practice. Yoga has become the answer to everything. It's an alternative therapy.
Well, I've been cancer-free for 4 years.
So you're going to stick with the yoga?
Absolutely.
A meeting place for like-minded people.
They're not professionals. They're not teachers. They just have an interest in the practice of yoga.
And a way to get closer to more gods than the ancient yogis ever dreamed of.
We're going to use the scripture today from Psalms 46 to just be still and know that He is God.
Yet as the practice continues to thrive, yoga purists are wondering whether the essence of yoga can survive, especially in the United States, where an estimated 18 million practitioners a year are fueling the big business of yoga.
18 million people in the United States doing yoga, $1,000 a year for classes and books and mats and clothes, etc. That becomes an $18 billion business. That's more sales than Coca-Cola does in the United States, or McDonald's does in the United States, or Gillette does in the United States.
Yoga is sort of caught in between two cultures. And I look around and I see all the affluence, and I see the affluence connected to yoga. That doesn't feel right to me.
I think all of us are looking for answers. We're looking for the great truth. We want somebody to give us those answers instantly, perhaps, in Western culture where we're used to drive-thrus and microwaves, and now we think we can get instant enlightenment.
Each culture has become interwoven with the practice. Now yoga is becoming American. I'm hoping that it can remain genuine, remain authentic, and still become, part of our culture.
That, right? That. Everyone's doing that. That. Okay? I'm just going to talk to you while you're doing it, even though we're timing. So at that moment. Knees down, shoulders up. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. You have a beautiful, soft face. You just keep doing that. Bright eyes, soft face. Now, when the hands are loose like that, it looks sloppy.
7 milk, no sugar. Which sugar? With sugar? Everybody sugar? Which sugar? I will drink sugar separate.
Check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, First World Yoga Competition. Thank you very much for coming, and let's officially start the competition.
Yogis from across the globe, including Japan, Thailand, Italy, the UK and Australia, have flocked to Los Angeles for this, the first World Yoga Championship to be held in the United States. Yoga championships do have a history. In India, There's evidence of competitions stretching back at least 4 decades. In countries such as Argentina and Italy, yoga competitions are popular events. Not so in the United States, and much of the criticism has been levelled at Bikram Choudhury, the driving force behind the competitions. His supporters say Bikram is making yoga accessible to the masses. His detractors see him as the embodiment of everything that's wrong with modern yoga.
So any idiot asks you how yoga could be competition, you better go back home and tell them, no, we didn't compete with anybody. We didn't compete in America or Germany or Japan or India. We compete my body, my mind, my spirit to improve it in the highest level in cosmic consciousness. That's it.
Leslie Christensen.
My main actual goal was to be competing with myself and to show at least one part of my soul to the judges. That's how I knew that I'd be a winner.
I went home last night and I was like, well, I wonder how hard it is to do some of these things. So I started hitting it. I think I might have to put my clothes back on. Primarily my interest for the readership of FHM, the magazine I'm writing for, is the paradoxical nature to the man on the street of there being a yoga competition. Because almost everyone's perception is that yoga is a non-competitive pursuit. It's quote-unquote spiritual, whatever the fuck that means. And it seems all of the resistance is coming from Johnny-come-lately yogas and yoginis who don't really know that much about the history of yoga.
Perception is that yoga arrived in the West pure and fully formed sometime in the 1960s. But the struggle for the soul of yoga, this war between spiritualism and secularism, has been raging much longer than that.
The biggest misconception is that yoga really became popular or known or practiced in any significant way in the 60s in the United States. And it basically, you have to kind of back that up by a century. Vivekananda was the first Indian to come here and teach yoga. He addressed the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. The irony, of course, is that he did not come to America to teach yoga. He came to raise money for India. He wanted to help impoverished Indians because he had seen how much his country was suffering. By the turn of the century, people were actually practicing yoga. People from really wealthy, prominent families, names you would recognize: Vanderbilt, Rutherford, Goodrich. In general, it drew a more open-minded kind of American because there was still a lot of anti-Hindu sentiment. It was kind of easy to target Hindus. You also have a change in the immigration law in 1924. Indians are banned from immigrating here. Indians could come, but they couldn't legally settle here. Indira Devi was the first to really succeed in presenting yoga in this sort of more mass way. The way she did that was to kind of further pull it apart from Hinduism. She opens a studio up on Sunset Boulevard in the late 40s, and she starts teaching starlets, saying, you don't have to worry about the spiritual practice. You can just do this and it'll keep you fit, it'll keep you healthy, it'll keep you looking young. She was accommodating the national temper in many ways.
And so they joined the stream of family life in the suburbs, soon to become part of its familiar sights.
When I was a child, people didn't really understand yoga. It was, even in San Francisco, it was considered to be an oddity, a weird thing.
Come on, pretty mama, get up out of that chair.
My parents had a really popular and abundant yoga center back in the 50s. That was unusual.
Because a shuffle is a guaranteed surefire cure for the blues.
I was often referred to as Hare Krishna. I was teased a lot by different kids.
This was post-war years, so America was a somewhat conservative place. We were not kind of so interested in the mystical dimension as a culture. I mean, it was kind of get things done, get things moving.
John F. Kennedy settles into office as the 35th President of the United States.
I was only 4 years old the day that President Kennedy was assassinated. It was like the first right in my face that this death thing is a reality for all of us. My mother gave me a variety of different answers that included yogis. They had the answers to the mysteries. Then you think, I want to be a yogi. We were in Ohio at the time. I mean, I'm the only kid that practiced yoga, the only vegetarian.
There was a big divide between Middle America and people doing things that were alternative.
I don't know anything about yoga.
Who does?
When the counterculture starts to happen, people see this yoga thing and they kind of see, oh, if you just turn it a little, there's this whole dimension that actually really fits in with our whole idea of challenging Western materialism and rationalism, you know, all the sacred cows of bourgeois middle-class society. Also, from the mid-20s to the mid-60s, Indians couldn't legally settle here, and that changes, you know, the mid-60s. So in 1965, Indians can come to America and settle here again.
As soon as I came to America in 1960, February 5th, 1960, in 1 month and a half I started teaching yoga. People were getting into marijuana and LSD.
This is the now generation.
And that was the hippies who were really disenchanted with the society and with the culture and focus on the money and power.
They are a part of the wave of the future.
Spiritual people, spiritual people, spiritual people, spiritual people, spiritual people, spiritual people.
When the Beatles went to India and became fans of transcendental meditation, I mean, that just had a huge ripple effect.
In the early 70s in Southern California, it's all right there. So I was, you know, intrigued by the Eastern religions, and all of those things were taught at my crazy college.
Some of the advanced students, they said, we would like to continue to study with you and maybe live near you. Everywhere I went, people said, we want to be in your ashram.
There was so much happening here. It really offered a way to think about the world and what was important in life that was meaningful and resonated with a whole range of people.
Years of yoga training have led up to this moment.
Yogi Prabhu will have to bear her full weight.
It's now practiced by all kinds of people, lawyers, construction workers, housewives, people.
If Debbie panics or freezes on the top of the platform, the yogi could easily be killed.
When we come back, we'll see if the yogi's concentration can keep him from being crushed to death.
What happened is these hippies, they became yuppies.
You have this large cohort of baby boomers who were reaching middle-aged, and we live an increasingly fast-paced life, and so they were seeking stress relief as well. And then you had another large group that I think was attracted to yoga because celebrities publicized the more athleticized forms.
Let's begin with a deep breathing exercise.
Welcome to Fat Burning Yoga.
In the early 90s, there was a great boom that happened in interest in yoga, the no pain, no gain kind of, if you don't sweat, it's not good for you. That really rapid rise in participation occurred in late 2001.
Yoga went public. TV, movie stars, shows about yoga.
The last time it was so secularized was probably the post-war period, when it was harder to use yoga to sell other products. Now, yoga is sort of available to market other things that have nothing to do with yoga.
And And you're seeing that spiritual aspects are being drawn on even by advertisers right now, that other inner dimension of yoga. One of the ones that kind of crosses the line for me is chakra panties. My question is, what next? You know, where will they take it next?
It's a common denominator among many spiritual movements where you can't have anyone emerge as someone interested in making money off of it or someone with a very strong point of view, because it somehow brings down the community or the collective. In this instance, we have Bikram, who's a very aggressive capitalist. Bikram is kind of a caricature of himself, I think. That's the impression people get of him in the media. People have like a vehement reaction against what Bikram is doing.
I'm the smartest man in the world you ever met in your entire life. I make a package, 26 posture, 2 breathing exercise. It works.
Of the literally hundreds of yoga styles that have emerged, Bikram's brand of yoga is one of the most popular. The Bikram organization says it's endorsed over 750 studios worldwide to teach his yoga.
Try to keep your spine perfectly straight.
A Bikram class is the same from Calcutta to California. 90 minutes of stretching, bending and balancing, performed in a heated room. Adherents swear by Bikram yoga, whether they're trying to lose weight or regain the use of paralyzed limbs.
I broke the C2 and C6 vertebrae in my neck, and I fractured the left temporal part of my skull. Every class, it seems like I just keep making more progress.
Previously in the United States, you could take a Bikram class at many studios that weren't affiliated with Bikram's franchise. Not anymore. In 2003, in a move that cemented his bad boy of yoga reputation, Bikram sought copyright and trademark protection for his yoga style. He now demands that teachers offering unauthorized Bikram yoga or using the Bikram name either join his franchise and follow his operating guidelines or face copyright infringement fees.
Enzo was one that my sister suggested. I think that's why the Mafia is so successful, because they've mastered the art of working with family. And if you can master that art, you can pretty much accomplish anything. All of a sudden, there's this person telling you you can't practice that yoga pose, or you can't teach somebody else or practice with somebody else that yoga pose or that series of postures because they're mine.
All yoga is good yoga. The only bad yoga is saying that your yoga is the best or the only.
We're certainly not against Bikram. We love the yoga. We paid a good penny to take the training. I just don't want to give it up.
There are many people who are interested in being part of a franchise or who are interested in being a Yoga College of India, but to attempt to require people who don't want to be part of his organization to be part of it is kind of ridiculous.
Pivot on your right heel. Bend the right knee and sit down into Warrior Two. Because I'm now not playing the franchise game that Bikram wants everyone to play, then what? I should stop teaching yoga altogether? Just stop helping people? No more helping people. Sorry. The postures that are in Bikram's sequence are not Bikram's postures. They're postures that have been passed down. His teacher, and Bikram passed it on to me, and now I pass it to my teachers. Inhale, come on up. It's not anyone's property to own, let alone to steal.
This is our business. This is our livelihood, and we don't want to see it destroyed by anybody, especially by somebody who we feel is acting in an unlawful way. I'd never gotten a letter from an attorney before. It's not something that you can ignore and hope that it goes away. It's something that you're apparently required by law to respond within a certain number of days, and we, had to find a lawyer.
Sandy McCauley comes to me holding this letter saying, "What do I do?" Bikram is sending out these cease and desist letters all over the place. He's telling people, you are violating my copyright if you teach my yoga, or you're violating my trademark if you use my name. He's threatening to sue everybody for statutory damages of $150,000 per violation. He's telling people, stop what you're doing. Don't teach Bikram yoga anymore. Tell me how much money you've made, and I'll tell you what you owe me. An analogy would be if somebody in the Yankees pitching staff pitched a new pitch and said, it's mine, you have to pay me.
Generally, Americans applaud these kinds of things. However, within the yoga community, you have a lot of people complaining about a guy who's basically a classic entrepreneurial, up by the bootstraps American success story. And what angers them is that their precious, misconstrued view of India and yoga and all of these things that are other and foreign to them are being brought back to them in a very like McDonald's American kind of form.
You'll see the term used, Mukh yoga, as in McDonald's, a lot now in all the journalists writing about the Bikram case. And by the way, there is going to be a new chain of yoga studios called Yoga Works. There are two businessmen who have bought several studios in Los Angeles. They've bought several studios in New York. We knew it was just a matter of time before you would begin to see chains of yoga studios in addition to Bikram in this country.
We worked together for about 3 years at our prior company, Ask Jeeves.
And then after Jeeves, we were thinking about what could become next.
We had this year where we were trying to come up with a business idea, and we said, let's do something where we think there's an important contribution we could make.
Rob started doing yoga up where he was living, and I was doing yoga where I was living, but we weren't sharing this.
We finally had this confessional that we were both doing yoga. So we said, let's create a business where we could make great yoga accessible to many more people. We bristle at the word chain. And every time, from the moment we wrote the first description of this as a business idea, we edited that word out every time we saw it. And people would say, you're a chain. We said, no, we are a family of yoga schools. The cynicism is, my gosh, if we're not careful, this will turn into the way, you know, Starbucks or Walmart has come in and sort of changed the landscape of America.
It's a key question. How do you take the advantages of scale, but keep the essential rightness of individual empowerment? How do you blend that together? How do you manage those two tensions?
Yoga has an incredible, varied, creative expression of itself that evolves constantly and continues to adapt itself to not just regions, but to the personalities who's leading it, to the insights that they have as human beings and their direct experiences. I think that's one of the beauties of yoga.
I built my website so that people can find out about me with the hopes of getting a sponsorship. If a sports apparel company wanted to support me in training, I would go for it for sure. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Nike Corporation as far as the way their workers are treated in third world countries. But at the same time, Nike Corporation has so much money, and if they wanted to put it into something like promoting yoga, I would accept that.
When competitive yogi Isak Garcia comes to Chicago to demonstrate Bikram yoga, a friend suggests he should try his luck at getting on a local morning chat show.
I don't really know how to approach somebody and say, "I want to sponsor me." I don't really have connections, but I'm making connections every day, and I think that it's just a matter of time before yoga athletes start to get sponsorships.
Yeah, he'll like talk about it. I gave him those press releases you gave me.
Hey kids, how are you all right over here?
Coming up in a moment, we'll update the top stories.
And we have a yoga practitioner outside.
Look at that.
I don't know why. He just happened to visit us here at Studio 5.
Now, I didn't realize that there was competition for yoga.
Well, it's a new thing in the United States, but it's been going on for a long time in India. It's an ancient tradition in India, and it happens in other countries all over the world.
He does have goosebumps because it is cool out here. We're leaning into the wind this morning because we do have a pretty brisk headwind coming in out of the north, bringing in some much cooler air. Oh, jeez. Unbelievable.
Oh,
he's moving.
You're messing him up. There we go. Right there, guys.
Is there an alternative to this bullshit? I mean, everybody's marching around with the yoga mat, and they think it's the goddamn Torah. It happens to be available to every single person on Earth now. At every level, they have it for a fucking dog, they have it for a child, they have it for a parrot. It's a business formula, like anything else. Nothing is safe, you know? So fuck it. The whole thing started by accident. I walk into the house, and my wife was going to yoga. Yoga before dinner, yoga before this, yoga before that. It's like, fuck yoga. I made her this shirt as a birthday gift. I believe her exact quote was, "Not on your life am I going to wear that." And so I wore mine around a lot. Next thing you know, I was selling shirts in Johannesburg, Vienna, San Diego, Oregon. It's kind of the shit happens of the new millennium, you know? The kicker is this. Here it is. Yoga has gone unopposed for thousands of years. You know what I mean? And so that is really the thrust of it. It's like, come on already. I'm sure there was some sucker 4,000 years ago standing in the back of some stone temple doing yoga with all those people thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? But didn't speak up because he would have got his head cut off or his arms chopped off or incinerated or whatever they did.
I heard that there was another t-shirt that you might have considered which was about Sting.
Fuck Sting is, that is a brilliant shirt. But he's incorporated in the yoga shirt. And fuck yoga means fuck Sting. Oh, by the way, we have all sorts of, we have fuck yoga water.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, this is for you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to fuck yoga.
Good afternoon and welcome to the second regional Northern California Yoga Championship. Give it up, give it up, give it up! A yoga competition, you say? Isn't yoga spiritual, you say? How can you compete in yoga, you say? Well, we say you can. And here we are today to present that. Life is a competition, and yoga teaches you emotion in action. This competition is judged on the yoga postures, poise, and gracefulness. But the competition is within yourself, taking you to a new level of self-improvement. Now let's get into that for a minute.
Each year it gets better and better because when people see it, they want to do it the next year, and then their friends want to do it. And I think next year probably will be sponsored by Mercedes-Benz.
We are going to announce the winners of our second annual North California Yoga Championship. First place, Isaac Garcia.
You know, I don't feel like I beat anybody because all these people, you know, they're my inspiration, they're my peers, they're my teachers, and you're charming. Thanks for it. You know, we can call it a competition, we can call it other things, but it doesn't. I don't think that really embraces completely what's going on. We're just going out there to demonstrate what it is that we put our hearts into and what it is that we focus on.
One day we'll get the yoga competition in the Olympics, but these are the people that are breaking ground for it.
And what if I told you these championships are part of a move to get yoga in the Olympics, which is what Bikram's people are saying?
Then I would just laugh.
I have definite questions about that. If we enshrine the physical part of the practice, we're condoning an understanding of yoga which falls far short of yoga's potential.
It would really diminish and demean the whole beautiful and, to me, a very sacred practice. Whoever can do the most contortionist-like position wins. That isn't yoga for me.
there always has to be a winner, and I don't know how you deem that someone has reached enlightenment faster than the person in lane 3. It seems almost comedic.
Yeah, you can't really measure somebody's spiritual practice, but I think that a person's level of self-esteem and self-control is on display.
Now there's the argument. Is this yogic? Is this what it's supposed to be about? Isn't it not about competition? Isn't it about personal practice? Of course it is. Then the other side of the coin is, yeah, but isn't it silly?
At the end of the day, really, what's the harm of it? They're practicing yoga. They hopefully get peace of mind out of it, and, you know, they're making some money. Big deal.
If it shows up in the Olympics, and that's someone's view of doing yoga, so be it.
And maybe they will stumble onto the quote-unquote spiritual side, or they'll find some kind of soothing or psychological calm through doing it, which would be beneficial.
These are cease and desist letters sent to other studios and
Who's that sent to?
clubs.
Las Vegas? Yeah.
In the yoga copyright and trademark case, Sandy and Bill McCauley and their daughter Vanessa band together with other studio owners who've been targeted by Bikram's lawyers.
We had all these people that were scared to death, and they didn't have the money to fight individually. My advice was to put together an organization to provide a common voice and a pooling of resources.
The group calls itself Open Source Yoga Unity, after the open source software movement, which rejects intellectual property and ownership restrictions, allowing anyone to design and market new computer code.
I saw a parallel between open source software and yoga. Yoga's been around thousands of years. If somebody controls a part of it, then its development in other directions could possibly be hampered. It's not so much the issue of whether it's unique, it's whether or not you can control a style of yoga.
The editors here at eweek.com, they were intrigued by Open Source Yoga Unity's taking on the mantle of open source software as their cry of liberty. They felt that since it's such an ancient practice, it can't be copyrighted, it can't be controlled by any one person or any one practitioner. It's in the public domain. It's clear that business is business and competition is competition, and it doesn't matter whether you're selling software or you're selling philosophy.
I think that Bikram's worked very hard all his life to get where he is. I believe what he's trying to do is keep his yoga pure, so that when you call something Bikram yoga, you know that you're teaching his yoga as it's meant to be taught.
He teaches it to others, and they're going to bring it out into the world, and it's going to change, and it's going to grow, and that's a painful reality of the situation.
Oh, you have a right to do whatever you want, but if you're going to call it Bikram yoga, then it should be Bikram yoga. I think it's a very painful case. A lot of these people were very close to Bikram at one time.
Nobody had a connection with Bikram more than I did. So our families were very, very close. I was Bikram's senior teacher, which he called me for 15 years. We used to call each other brothers. And I still have a very, very warm place in my heart for Bikram. Even though we had political and business fallout, he's still family.
I loved him and do continue, always will, because I deeply appreciate what I gained in the training.
And the lawsuit wasn't about getting any money. We didn't sue him for any money. We just sued him so that we would have the right to do what we wanted to do, what we were trained to do.
And this is grassroots. These people just want to be able to continue their business.
Positioning itself as the little guy taking on the big guy, OSYU asks the federal court to declare Bikram's claimed copyright and trademark as unenforceable. OSYU says yoga positions that existed in the public domain cannot be treated as intellectual property.
Can someone copyright yoga? And if you can, what protections do you have under it?
America, it's naivete that present the ideas that yoga shouldn't make money or should be free. The tradition of yoga is that you pay all you have to the guru, that you scrape together every last cent that you can get, and you put yourself at the mercy of the teacher.
I don't see any problem with generating money if it's used wisely.
The idea of if you're yogic, you shouldn't be successful, I've been a big target for that. But I believe if you're yogic, there's no choice, you will be successful.
Hey, Byron, check this out.
It wasn't our intention to have some large, successful yoga center or a worldwide movement of any sort. All we did was try to share what we knew with people who were interested.
Hello, I'm Evan. Hi, I'm Jojo. Hi, I'm Adesha.
Hi, I'm Donna.
Hi, I'm Rodney.
Welcome to Family Yoga.
You guys ready for one more?
One more.
Okay.
Why not make a living out of something that you're just really impassioned by? I love it. I love to share that knowledge. If I was less successful, monetarily wise, I just don't think it would matter so much. I would still spend my hours of day trying to share this very special stuff.
Yoga is more than a business. I remember a Buddhist nun that I meditated with, Arina Sakar, saying, what you need is right livelihood. And yoga is a good livelihood. And so there's a lot of people who see yoga within its spiritual path and would probably be repulsed by some of these other fragmentations.
One of the things that we found most startling and disappointing when we've come into yoga is how quickly we find yogis capable of claiming that other yogis aren't yogic. So all of a sudden everyone's going, well, that's not yogic, she's not, he's not, they aren't, and so everyone's kind of squabbling.
I like two words, intention and desire. If your intention and desire is there, yeah, it can be very lucrative business. If your intention is to just make money and take advantage of people, then obviously it's a karmic thing that's going to work against you.
You know, yoga traditionally is based on moral standards, moral disciplines, and self-restraints.
Not rigid morals or religious morals, but just a natural morality that it makes a distinction between serving humanity and using or consuming.
We like to skip over that part in America. We like to do what we like to do. Morality is relative. I have my morality, you have yours. There's no hard and fast rules.
But yoga industry watchers say the time may have come to create a single, enforceable code of ethics for all yoga teachers in the United States to abide by.
We need a moral code out there and ethics because we've lost our way that much as a yoga community. If we need it, then fine. I don't need a code of ethics personally because I already have ethics.
To say, okay, now we have to enforce a new code of ethics. It almost becomes a fascist-like implication. It's hard to enforce a universal code when there's all these different camps, all these different styles.
Yoga is so multidimensional, and there may be people who only ever practice yoga as physical fitness. But for some people, yoga is strictly a spiritual practice, and how do you regulate that?
Especially in the United States, where the Constitution prohibits any regulation of religion. Over the years, this freedom has allowed some swamis, gurus and godmen to wreak unholy havoc, often dragging yoga's good name down with them.
Down in Southern California, there's a guru that is guruing there.
There are some groups that have kind of hitched a ride on the yoga craze. They see yoga as a means of recruitment.
He's got all of the answers to all of the questions.
Within the yoga universe, some people are wrestling, I think, with the idea of purification. Can I purify my mind, my body, my heart, my breath? You can start to become obsessive.
Everything else is a hoax.
It's all about the leader as opposed to spirituality or yoga or some other practice.
He protects his people people from the outside world. His people need never be afraid.
So the voluntary enslavement to the desires of the guru becomes the way to enlightenment. People are not brainwashed or hypnotized into this, but they are seduced.
Yeah, they're proselytizing and it's mesmerizing and they're making moolah every day.
When the Beatles became involved with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Maharishi was able to use their endorsements to grow his financial empire. The empire is now far bigger and contains more wealth than all the Beatles' fortunes combined. It's estimated at between $5 and $9 billion.
There is no such thing in any part of the world, anywhere, that has ever been such a thing as perfect guru who will never make any mistakes whatsoever. Is it dangerous? It depends on you and the teacher.
Times and gurus have certainly changed. Popular yogi Rodney Yee once called yoga the backbone of his marriage.
Welcome to Family Yoga.
Now Rodney has left his wife of 14 years for another yoga teacher. In the past, this might have caused an uproar, but today's yoga community is accustomed to yoga teachers acting like rock stars.
Sometimes the guru relationship gets in the way. I make mistakes, you make mistakes. Hopefully we get up, we get back up, and we learn from them, and we move on.
And it's no surprise today's most successful gurus are part spiritual teacher and part showman.
Do these people express a slightly strange kind of reverence for Bikram? Yes, they do. However, Bikram quite correctly perceives that any publicity is good publicity, because how many other gurus can the average American reel off? He has like a brand name and he does what he can to promote himself. Good for him.
This was like a safe haven for them. They feel really bad for us and for themselves because they won't have us here. Is there room for me? I haven't been in a room this full in a long time. Thank you, everyone. We were the first hot studio in the city. All of a sudden, it just took off. We grew really rapidly. And then other studios started opening, but that was still good because it was still getting the word out there to more and more people, and everybody was really busy. In fact, there was times when we cut our classes off because the room was too full. At the same time, yoga teacher training programs were just popping up everywhere. After that followed gyms being able to offer more yoga because they see people want yoga. There's too many choices for people, and it diluted the number of people that everybody could see. When the big gym down the street opened, our income went to half, like that.
Lower Manhattan, below Canal Street, has 30,000 residents. If you get 1% of that market, that's 300 people. 300 people, in my opinion, can barely support a yoga studio. Now we're splitting it across every gym and like 5 yoga studios. How can that make sense?
Nowadays, with the rents here in New York, and then without having the numbers of the people, the classes be full, it's like it's very hard to make ends meet.
But it's not really about us, is it? Like, our students will find other places to study yoga, and those teachings will survive anything that happens in business.
Marilyn's students soon found a new yoga studio, and they didn't have to look very far. Soon after Marilyn cleared out, A new yoga studio went up in her space. It's run by one of Marilyn's former employees.
Yeah, well, I mean, good luck. I mean, I did everything I could to make the business go, and so it's like, good luck, you know.
Every instructor is encouraged to put her or his soul and mind into the practice, and so there's no interest in standardizing. The McYoga is out there. That's what Bikram represents. That is a franchise. That's a prepackaged form of yoga where the script is the same, every word, every experience is the same. The yoga community is kind of realizing that everything's changing, but given our commitment to yoga, this looks like a pretty good result.
Okay, here's the form. If you've never been to yoga work, fill one of these out. And then once you fill those out, sign into the class.
Come on in, so excited.
Wonderful to see you. I would never have joined this if the principals weren't there. To have these two guys come in and bring all of their expertise and the financial end of it into it really allows us as yogis to teach well and do what my vision was all along. So I'm really happy about it. Opening the heart, the head is centered. It's really hard to be in business and then switch over and try and be yogis. It doesn't really match each other. It's very hard for me to sit there and really just worry about this individual and their spiritual growth and not have to think about money. In fact, it's adding stability to the yoga because it's very hard to have stability if there's no financial stability.
Let's go.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that they don't open right downstairs from me. That would be a drag, you know, let's face it.
Small independent yoga studios will have a more difficult time surviving because these large chain studios will be able to offer more kinds of classes, probably at a somewhat cheaper rate than the little, you know, local mom and pop yoga studio can afford to do.
Is that a development that would please you or displease you?
It makes me cry.
Thanks for running such a good school.
Well, thank you.
All this time.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. Keep up your yoga. You did great. It is what it is, and there's just there's just a time sometimes that things come to an end.
Tricia Lamb has quit her job at the Yoga Research and Education Centre to begin an extended silent retreat under the guidance of a Buddhist guru. So this will be home for
3 years. A little over 3 years, actually. In 3-year retreat, you essentially work up to meditating 24 hours a day. The purpose of yoga is growth in self-awareness to the point of becoming completely awake. And that's the purpose of Buddhist practice, that's the purpose of Hindu yoga practice, it's the purpose of any true spiritual practice.
OSYU, the yoga studio owners doing battle with Bikram, have gotten bad news. In a pre-trial ruling, a federal judge in San Francisco declares Bikram's yoga series has been designed in a manner creative enough to warrant copyright and trademark protection. Before the case gets to court, OSYU instigates a settlement. Studio owners like the Macaulays agree to stop using the Bikram name. Bikram drops his lawsuit. The Macaulays are no longer discussing the case, citing a confidentiality clause in the settlement.
It seemed that the open source Yoga Unity people were going to defend a principle, but then it seemed that they settled their own particular dispute with the Bikram Yoga organization, and both sides went on their way. It was just really a betrayal of what I thought the goals of their position were.
And I can't comment on what the terms of settlement because it was confidential, and that's part of the agreement. But like I said before, our purpose was not to protect ourselves. That's the reason why we got together in the first place, was to protect everybody else.
Yet the settlement only protects OSYU members. Studio owners outside the case are still wondering what to do.
The basic copyright issues remain unresolved as to whether anyone can copyright a yoga routine. It would have been good to see whether a court upheld Bikram Yoga's copyrights. I think that there was a strong argument to be made that they could not be enforced.
The only reason I would prefer to have gone to a court case is so that we wouldn't have to talk around the issue, so people know exactly what it is they could or couldn't do. But at the same time, it was getting very expensive, very costly, extremely stressful for everyone involved. So just let this thing be done with.
The ball is in Bikram Yoga's court. If they want to pursue it against other practitioners, they're free to press their copyright claims against them.
We'll get you situated. I'll just have you twist that chair around the other way for me.
This way?
Mate. Yep.
Yeah, go.
The day before the third Bikram Yoga Championship, Bikram finally sits down for a hastily convened formal interview. But when it's reiterated to him what issues the film will cover, he withdraws his permission to use this interview and any others we'd done. The next day, as we're setting up our cameras to film the event, Bikram orders our crew to leave the premises. Any further contact with him, he says, will have to be through his agent. As you know, I've been barred from the event, and I just wondered, have you ever found yourself on the outs with Bikram?
No, and I've definitely, he's definitely told me to do things that I wasn't happy about. I choose to stay on good terms with Bikram because I believe in what he's doing and I want to be a part of it.
We live in a world where we're taken apart, where as individuals we no longer feel connected to the generation before us, the generation after us, to our colleagues. We're made to fight in corporate environments, to compete. Everything is just processed through and then spit back out to us. There is a yearning for meaning.
Job stress, job loss, family problems, money problems. They need some sanctuary for their soul, and yoga provides that.
Can yoga survive all of this commercialization, industrialization, and so on? And yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been around for 5,000 years. It teaches the truth. Truth never goes away. It just becomes difficult to access in certain times.
People who have spiritual awakening and who are real seekers, they'll find the right path out of it anyway. I'm just excited that right people will find something very beautiful that yoga has to offer.
I really think it's all as it should be. The universe is behind this, not us. And so yoga will go exactly where it needs to go.